Welcome to the Present and Sober podcast with your hosts, Sam Goldfinch and Ellie Crow. If you want to make your life bigger, not smaller, then this is the podcast for you. If you can sense that you're destined for more and you're curious about how drinking could be holding you back, listen in and come on this journey with us. Through the interplay of mind and body practices, we will help you elevate your daily life and discover the wonder and potential of going alcohol-free. Let's make life bigger together. Hey, you lovely bunch of people. Right, this week we're going to be talking about some do's and don'ts of your first week alcohol or anything free. So, very often it's that first week that we get kind of like very flustered about and kind of get a lot of thinking about that. And we thought we'd put something together that would be useful, but definitely if you're on the alcohol journey, but for many other things as well. Perhaps you want to be sugar-free for a week. Perhaps you want to be anything free for a week. So this is, highly practical, as you know we like to be. Well, we try to be. And what with it being Ellie's birthday week, it was yesterday, the day after. We are now the day after. If you're listening to this on the day that this is released, you know what I mean. We thought we'd drop one with a bit of silliness in it, a bit of lightness and brightness, and this was one of those moments. Ellie loses it for a bit here, and I think I'm on the verge as well. So it seemed like a good one to air for this week. And other than that, if you're listening to this when it's going out on so let me think about this. Hang on, the 10th of July, 2023. The Rebel Spirituality podcast, which is just me solo waffling for 10 minutes or so a week. It's going to be really cool. That's going to launch. So if you haven't got your name on the list to find out all of the stuff about that for when it releases, all you need to do is hit the link in the show notes or go to rebelspirituality.com and you'll find links and things you can download. There's a really cool little kind of mini book that I've written in as before my actual book comes out at some point in the future. So definitely be sure to go and check that stuff out. And I think that's it. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, walking the dog, or I don't know, perhaps the dog's walking you. There seem to be a lot of people in the park near me with large dogs, and they seem to walk their owners. So potentially it could be that way around. I'm not really sure I'm making any sense now. So before I make even less sense, I'll shut up and hand you over to me and Ellie. See you there.
Yo, welcome to... Does that feel loud?
Wow. I think it might... Anyone, I don't know if the video is going to go out, but I felt like I just got punched in the face by Ellie's voice.
A vocal punch. There we go. By the way, before we get started today, I feel like I need to, you don't know what's coming. You're wondering what I'm going to talk about. I read out a review and I didn't realise that there was more to it. And I missed half of it off. So I want to go back to Great During Remodels, wonderful 5-star review and read the whole thing.
What did you do? Just not click the show me more bit?
Yeah. Anyway, serious, just not seriously. Relatable, brilliant, creative, compassionate, hopeful, practical, deep, soulful, and hilarious. And background again. They banter, waffle, and spew fountains of wisdom that spring forth from some cosmic river, which they make clear we can all access. And then this is the bit that I missed. No shame, blame game. Relevant guest speakers. I could go on and on. They make sense even when they've gone off into nonsense. This is the stuff. This is the sauce that makes the experience and flavour of a life not drinking tolerable, interesting, and full of sweet grace. A well-being well. I love that. Deep and refreshing. So grateful. These two have created this podcast. Can you tell?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? That.
Yeah, it's a fucking good job. I found the second half of that. So thank you. Great During Remodel. Really appreciate it. And do go leave us a review. I like reading these out. It's amusing, but not quite as amusing.
Have you run out
as Sam's impression. It wasn't an impression actually. It's more. I don't know really how to describe
I was challenged.
It was magnificent.
You challenged me.
Sam sang, "You can go your own way" in a Japanese accent, and it was delightful. But he's you're going to share it with us now, Mr.
Not
Sam.
right now. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that again. You know when you sort of know when there's just no walls up, I got caught off guard. The next thing I know, there it was. And I feel like if I tried to do it now, I'd try too hard. and it wouldn't.
Okay.
It just wouldn't be the same.
All right. Well, if you would like to hear Sam's rendition of "Go Your Own Way" in a Japanese accent, then just let us know in the Facebook group. If somebody could just maybe start a post, we can tot up how many members want to revisit the crime scene.
We should probably make it very clear that although I'm not sure it was actually a Japanese accent, in my attempt, and accents aren't my strong point. So let us know in the group and we'll get Sam to do it. We're going to be actually I'm not going to say that because I'm not sure when this is going out. Come on with the show. Don't.
Right, so today we are talking about your first week. So it could be your first sober week or your first week without whatever the thing is that you're not having a week of.
Yeah.
A week off. Yogurt.
Yeah.
Oh God, here we go. Waffles.
You can yogurt. No, it doesn't work. Oh, I thought it fit. Waffles. Yeah, a week off. No one can have a week off waffles.
A week off waffles. Noah said to me, "Mummy, do you know what a tongue twister is?" Because she learnt a tongue twister that's all to do with feathers.
Come on, let's hear it.
I can't remember what it is. Something to do with feathers.
Can you do Peter Piper?
Smart feathers. Anyway, and then the kids all say farting, and it's really funny. So it just reminded me of that with your Weller waffles.
Love a tongue twister. Can you do Peter Piper?
Nope.
No, you're not even.
Can you do it in a Japanese accent?
I can't even do it in my accent. Okay.
So we're talking about what to do and not do.
Oh yeah.
In your first week.
And we're going to rotate between the do-don't pairings.
Do-de-do, don't-de-don't.
Right. So the first one, I'm going to start this off because I've been instructed to steer the ship, whatever that means. So prepare for probably a ship that's been crashed, I imagine. What's happening over there?
Coco's giving me side eye because I gave her the pointy finger to not scrap the blanket off the chair that she's ruined.
Yeah. Right. I feel like I'm in an altered state of consciousness today.
Yeah, me too. It's bad
I'm
news.
not sure it's higher.
Bad news for recording a podcast.
Well, let's see how we go. If it's an utter shit show, we'll release it like we always do. So the first one's quite good for just a general orientation towards this podcast as well. Do drop your expectations. Right. While Eddie pieces it back together again, I will. I think I'm going to lose it today as well. So yes, don't assume that I'm closing my eyes and talking into the microphone because otherwise I'm going to lose it. Don't assume that it's going to be a certain way. Yes, we're going to cover some things that may happen that, that are quite common for people in terms of, well, we'll get there. But don't assume. See, I can't, this is absolute nonsense. I feel like I might have to actually to regroup, to be honest, because I feel like I've just said the same thing over and over again. We haven't got anywhere. We're about 10 minutes in and it's just absolutely shite. Right, get a grip. Come on. Okay, so, yeah. So I'll tell a story. That's how I'll start this off. Ages ago, I worked with this chap. And he sent me an email. This is prior to us starting a little. I was going to coach him. I did. So, but before we started our coaching, he sent me a message and he was like, "Look, I've been reading up on what will happen to me over the first week or 2 weeks alcohol free, and I know it's going to be a living hell." They were the actual words he used.
Wow.
Because he'd been learning about I always say dopamine system because I can't say it right. Dopaminergic system. Freaking did it. There we go. And he was like, and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And it was really funny because all I sort of replied to him was, let's just see. Let go of all of that. Let's just see what happens. And for whatever reason, we didn't, when we started, I can remember him sending me an email a couple of weeks later going, bloody hell, hardly any of that stuff I thought was going to happen happened. It's, So when we say drop expectations, it's like whatever you've heard, whatever scary stories you might have picked up and all that kind of stuff. You just don't know a lot of the time. Like it's going to be, so much of it is going to be dictated by your kind of state of mind and all that kind of stuff. So the less you can kind of panic yourself and freak yourself out about it, the better, I say.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost like the less you know, the better. It just, I mean, in terms of like, I'm all for being informed, but thinking about when I went through the alcohol experiment, I was kind of fresh into the whole thing. Never taken a break before. I hadn't kind of heard about what to expect. I just, and the thing is, I'd started early as well. So in terms of the content and the stuff that I was learning about alcohol and hearing, hearing about from other folks that were in the experiment, because I'd started early, I'd kind of gone through the initial bits and pieces that, you know, people might, oh God, day 3's the worst. Day 4, oh God, day 3 and day 4, they're by far the worst days. Well, I was already through them. So it didn't colour my experience. So I think it can be helpful to not kind of overconsume, and particularly like taking on other people's narrative or experience, because it's not necessarily going to be yours. Like if universally day 3 and day 4 were the worst days, then clearly I'd have had the same experience, and I didn't. I had an experience, I had my experience, but it wasn't that it was, you know, day 3 and day 4 was just, you know, fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a really good point you make, actually. I feel like because for me as well, I didn't really, so a few of the things that I didn't have a concept of, difficult days, the pink cloud, all these things that we hear, I didn't even really know that they were a thing unless I'd, you know, read about them. And like, I think back then, a lot of the Quit Lit was the kind of, what do you call it? Like memoir style stuff, which I found really helpful, but it wasn't the same as a lot of the stuff that's come out that's very rooted in science, etc. And I think one of the problems can be is that we can innocently pick up on other people's, almost like, I want to say like superstitions. It's like, oh, day 9. And it's like, well, yeah, but there might be some general, well, there's definitely some stuff around, you know, neurotransmitters recalibrating. How long does it take for our sleep to come back? But we're all so different as well. And I think for me, I didn't have so like the pink cloud's a good example of this. I had no concept of it. Maybe we should do an episode on that as well. We haven't done that, I don't think. Oh man, I can't even have an idea without forgetting my original idea. That's
talk
weird,
about superstitions. I like the way that you phrased it.
But it's like, so I would notice that there were periods where I would feel kind of incredibly grateful, very like, you know, and then there would be periods where I'd feel a bit like, oh man, it's a bit like walking through treacle this week. And then, but I would always, but because that's how experience works and it changes and it's always ebbing and flowing, I'd kind of just remember that. But if I'd had a concept of what, oh God, is this or is that, or is this that? So, you know, I think it's just worth knowing that your experience will be your experience. You know, that looping thing that some people have as well, where they say, oh, I always get to day this and then I start again, or it's like, yeah, until that gets broken. And then it's like, well, what was that? What was going on? And a lot of it is, it's innocent, but it's just kind of this stuff that we've picked up. Like, yeah, think of it more like a superstition than a reality kind of thing. Right. Yeah. So do that. Do drop your expectations if you notice you've got them. Any of the, oh God, this is going to be terrible, all that kind of stuff. Just who knows? Okay, second one. I like this. Oh, this kind of fits in, mate. But so we've had a do. Now we're doing a don't. Don't believe everything you think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh.
God, then you sounded like that was the noise of someone who wants to share.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I tell myself on a daily basis, to not believe the first thing that I think, or not believe anything that I think, actually. I've often described what happened in my experience when I busted the big belief I had about alcohol relaxing me. It opened up this sort of chasm of, right, I'm willing to be wrong about everything now, willing to be wrong about absolutely everything, because we have these, like, God, yes, it's incredible being in these human bodies, these skin suits, but like we just get lost. We get utterly lost in the experience that we create, and we're totally caught like that, the mind stream, that like ongoing fucking narrative that starts from the second you wake up, and it's like all day long. And to just really gently, when you become aware of it, remind yourself that that's kind of operating all of its own accord, and you don't have to swim along in it. You can step out of it whenever you like. Then it's something magical happens, because like we will often hear about people trying to slow the thought stream down, or trying to people will talk to me about like I just want to break from the noise, and I know that feeling well, but the way to get a break is to not try to stop thinking, because you're never going to be able to achieve that. That's something that's operating all of its own accord, but you choose where you put your focus, and that's where your power is.
Yeah, you reminded me of that awesome Dan Millman quote, which I might mash, but I'm pretty sure it's, we don't need to control our thinking. It's just don't want it to control us. And I think there's this idea that, to me, it's kind of like if you imagine a fire that's burning, that we don't have any control of, it will burn out in its own time, or it's doing its own thing, but we don't have to fan the flames. And I think a lot of the time that's what we're doing when we're in there trying to set. It's funny that the actual action of trying to clear our mind of thoughts in that way often fills our head with more stuff, when actually it's the act of just stepping back. Of course, these are metaphors. There's different ways of talking about it, but yeah, no, and I think that's important. And I'm not sure if we'll end up sort of repeating ourselves later. I don't think we will. It looks like your mind is going to probably throw a whole bunch of stuff at you over the course of the first week of being free from anything. And often, we make that decision based on wisdom, based on a true knowing, like proper knowledge, not the kind of like information that you just like hold in your head, but I don't want to do this anymore. And then we can make that decision. And then within the space of hours, sometimes minutes, our thoughts and feelings might appear to be giving us conflicting information. And that's because a lot of the time, and we've, shared this many times, but our thoughts and feelings aren't always going to correlate with what we want. Sometimes they will, and sometimes they'll sort of be delivering us absolute fecking nonsense. So yeah, you don't have to believe it. Like, give yourself the week. See how you are at the end of that.
Yeah. And so a really practical level, like, if you've removed alcohol, you're having your first break from alcohol, and you notice that you feel triggered, there's like, you don't have to believe the specific thoughts that come up, but what you can do is use it as like the temple bell, as the recognition that there's an opportunity to gather some data and explore what's happening, and why might it be the case that I feel triggered. Write the thoughts down as a place to just put them outside of your own head, and it might make sense to use them to work specifically on changing your beliefs, or it might just help to just see them in black and white in front of you. And similarly, if you feel a craving and there's a bunch of thoughts that come along with that, then it's hugely powerful to just give yourself some space to, in a really like gentle, hands-off way, just explore what's going on without taking any form of action. You can always choose to drink later on, but when do we ever sit with a craving? Typically I would have the urge and I would satisfy the urge. So what you're doing now is a really different thing, and it's to be revered and celebrated. And the more space that you can give yourself, the more magic will happen, and the more you will be blown away with the things that you discover.
Yeah, and there isn't any substitute for kind of experience in this realm of the Zoom, like what you've learned from your zoomed out perspective of that week, where you see, oh, hang on a minute, I had that experience, that craving on Tuesday night, and God, I was so close, and I really didn't think I was gonna. But I woke up Wednesday morning and I was like, what was the fuss about? And that's such a common experience for us. You know, the whole thing we hear is no one ever woke up in the morning and thought, oh, thank God I got wankered last night. Like it doesn't work like that. So there's stuff that we learn, and it's happening at a subconscious level as well, that like in a way that we don't even know. So I love that. Okay, you ready for the next do?
Yeah, what we're gonna do?
Proper profound. I put do stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think you said, yeah, like nice things, self-care stuff. And I'd put down like, here's my list. Gym, swim.
Gym and swim. Does it all rhyme?
Gym, swim, take out the bin. There you go.
I need to do that today. Tuesday's bin day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is here as well.
It is. Well, Wednesday is, but I have to take it out on a Tuesday.
So it's not really bin day then. You lied.
No, it's not. No.
Fibber. Ours actually is today. It wasn't yesterday. It was today.
Do you have a bin shoot? When I lived in an apartment, yeah, back in the university days, my very first apartment, it was a flat that I rented, had a bin chute. You used to put your stuff in the bin and it would go down the bin chute.
Although I do have a story about bin chutes. When I lived in
Poland,
Poland,
didn't get in one, did you? You did.
Not that I can remember. When I lived in
glasses
Poland,
in one. And
I lost my glasses in a few places. No. Let me finish my story. When I was in Poland, living in this old communist era block of flats, it was amazing, actually. Even when it was like minus 25 outside, we had to open the windows on a Saturday because it was so fucking warm inside. Because obviously we'd get the heat from all the other apartments. Anyway, stay with me. This is a very interesting story. And there was bin chutes, but they'd been like sealed. So you couldn't use the bin chutes anymore. But we got absolutely infested with cockroaches. Because they're from like another flat or something like that. And we came home one night and mate, the entire place, like they were bloody everywhere. They really were. So that took a while to sort out. We had to I can't remember if we had to leave the flat to get them to sort it, or anyway, there's my bin chute story. So
but what happened? What did it have to do with the bin chute?
Well, because the sealed bin chutes, that's where
the cockroaches
had come from. That's how they'd made their way from the next door flats or whatever to our flat. Because our flat obviously was spotless. There was not. I'm quite clean.
Gym, swim, put the bin out.
Yeah,
is that it?
Gym, swim, take out the bin.
Right. I'll throw
but do stuff.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, do stuff. Do stuff. And also under this banner is doing stuff like being kind to yourself, like speaking nicely to yourself, rewarding yourself, reminding yourself of the wonderful thing that you are doing, and just taking the opportunity to listen to how you talk to yourself and rectify that. I mean, that's a huge thing, can have a huge impact on your day-to-day and how you feel and your motivation levels. But yeah, general wonderful acts of self-care, and it can be things that seem obvious, like movement or having a bubble bath and all of that sort of stuff. It can be things like that, but it's also the little micro things. I've talked before about like how if I meal prep at the beginning part of the day so that when the kids come back at the end of the day and it's bedlam, my afternoon self is very, very thankful to morning Ellie for doing that little, that small act of self-care for myself to make the back end of my day easier. So as far as alcohol is concerned, if like me, you're what I was doing was drinking at the back end of the day as a means of checking out rest, release, relaxation, then think about how you can ease the back end of your day and set yourself up with some other nourishing forms of activity or inactivity that are going to help you to wind down and switch off.
Yeah, that's it. No, I think the other thing that's cool is do stuff even if you don't feel like it. So here's my experience anyway, is that I'm not going to talk for everybody, but it's definitely mine, that I quite often don't feel like doing stuff that I know that I want to do. So exercising or whatever it might be. And I also know that the natural kind of dopamine release and the kind of boost that we get from exercising, we can feel like completely different people. So even if it's just like, it depends what your thing is, right? You know, whether it could be a HIIT workout, it could be going swimming, it could be going to the gym, it could be going for a walk, it could be going for a run, but doing stuff like that, even if you don't feel like it, is a really, really powerful thing, because it will change your state. Like one of the quickest ways to change your state is to move, like to shift your neurology to whatever it is that makes sense to you. And I think if you're in a funk, it's kind of one of those double-edged swords. Is it like the last thing we often want to do when we're in a funk is do that thing. But if we can just get ourselves to it, then within a minute or two of starting it, we're grateful that we have. And then afterwards we feel very different. So yeah, I think, and that includes taking the bin out as well. Because I never want to take the bin out, but I feel good about it after I've taken it out.
Yeah. You know what you need? A bin chute. Right.
What's you going to say? Servant. So you need a servant.
I'm one of those.
No servants. I don't want a bin chute. What they don't seem. I don't know.
Oh, no, we're beyond that now. Right. What are we don't doing?
Don't isolate yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's always better to do this stuff in some form of community, and that might be, you might be in a program like the Alcohol Experiment or the Path, or it might be that you just have a little group of people that you've met through these different communities that you're taking a break with. I do lots of women's small coaching groups, and the ladies beyond the term that we're together will then carry on as a friendship group. And so just having people that understand what you're working on and why, we so often, and part of the reason I run these groups is because other people in our lives don't necessarily get it in the same way as people that are. Why are you smiling at me like that? Just completely put me off. As if like something was happening behind me that shouldn't be.
I didn't even notice I was doing it. I was clearly just engaged by what you were saying.
You're just loving it. We need to have people in our lives and around us that understand it, and that's not necessarily going to be the folk that we live with or share the majority of our lives with. So having people that, like, it's really when you start to take a step into these communities, it's really liberating and what's the word I'm looking for? It's really comforting, because you find people, like, you're not on your own. You're not on your own at all. And anything that you think that, this terrible thing that I've done or experienced, like, somebody else has too. And so being willing to be vulnerable is a massive part of your spiritual growth. And so I really want people to find, it doesn't matter what the space is, but find a space where you belong. And for some people that might be like, God, AA, you can go to a meeting anywhere. Like, to just be around people, to have that connection. So it doesn't matter, as I say, what the forum is, but having somewhere that you can plug into.
Yeah, love it. And it could just be, often with these things, it's just a buddy. It's just a pal that you're doing it with, or like a friend who's going to support you, or and even if you're not at a point where you feel like you're ready to kind of fully open up about something, there's having a 1 week, challenge or a 30-day break or something like that. People are, if you put that out there to your mates, people will often, like, I see people now doing those things, going out together and both not drinking as a way of supporting each other or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, do not isolate yourself. And I can speak from experience of having had a long period away from alcohol where I didn't isolate myself, but I also wasn't actively looking for a tribe of people who kind of understood the journey that I'd been on. And I think that was one of the key things that really helped me kind of like find my freedom. It was so obvious to me. Yeah.
Now this is the bit we've been waiting for. Oh, so this is a do, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a do. This is you can go your own way,
Well, you
Sam.
do it your own way, but yeah,
you
can go
do it your own way. You can go your own way.
That's beautiful.
Do it in do.
No, you can't. You can't just. I'm not falling for it. But yeah, you got to do it your own way. You have. There's no one way to do this, and there's no prescription. Wisdom over prescription. Yeah, and yeah, if this looks like going away somewhere for a few days to explore, awesome. If it looks like not changing anything, awesome. Because you hear people say
not changing your pants there.
Well, I mean, do that if you want. Change your underpants, but your on top pants, probably get away with that for a week, and you be all right.
Oh, not a week.
Oh, come on. Life's a festival. That's how you got to think about it. It depends what you're doing. If you're just sitting at home, which you won't be because you'll be doing stuff. But yeah, is there anything else to add other than that? Is it other than you trying to set me up to?
No, that is very worthwhile. Oh
no, that's
I wonder whether our listeners
that wasn't me. That wasn't me. That was weird. That must have floated in through the window or something. Right.
All I was going to say was about watching out for comparison, as good old Teddy Roosevelt says. Comparison is the thief of joy.
There you go.
So the one surefire way to undermine yourself and have yourself feel bad is to start comparing where you're at versus somebody else, and also where you're at versus where you might like to be. Measuring the whole gap situation. So just allow it to unfold as it is, and love every part of it for what it is, and it being uniquely yours because you are uniquely you.
Yes, and it's worth pointing out that things might be a bit uncomfortable, but then that's not bad. If you actually, very often the greatest learnings we have are when things are a bit uncomfortable, and learning to be comfortable in the natural uncomfortable feelings and things that come up because we're human sometimes is a far kinder and less pressured way of living than trying to always be comfortable. Like it's like it's just true. It's just true. So yeah. Oh, I like the next one. I like this. Don't. It's good. So we've got don't misread the signals. And that might be from your body as well. So things like I'd put in here like don't panic about. So like we're all so unique when it comes to something like sleep. So don't panic if suddenly you need loads more sleep and you're like sleeping absolutely loads, or perhaps you're not sleeping that well, or like whatever it's going on or whatever's coming through your body or whatever you're feeling and all those kinds of things. It's there very often we just create meaning out of stuff, scare ourselves with it, think something is going to be a forever dealio. And no, very often, if we've been, I don't know, consuming sugar, drinking alcohol, smoking, whatever it might be for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however many years, there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period, and your body is very wise, and it might be a bit kind of up and down before it stabilizes again. So just trust that. And yeah. Is that the magpie?
No, it's the robin. And
Is
yesterday the little robin came up with his little robin friend. It was like they were holding wings. They weren't holding wings, but I was imagining that they were, because they came and hopped up right up to my little step here together. They're so sweet. Yeah, what I was going to say was I've forgotten, and
so it was about
don't misread. Important. Don't misread the signals. Oh yeah, that sometimes I'll hear people say things like, "Oh God, cut out alcohol, feel really crap, so I might as well just drink then."
Oh yeah, I've heard
that.
And
this is the whole thing of like, well, the discomfort is being caused by alcohol in the first place, and this is the whole scratching the itch thing. You're scratching the itch that alcohol's caused in the first place. So we need to have some patience and allow that process of detoxification and healing to take place, the recalibration of the bits and pieces and the wiring. Just let that do its thing, and recognize whenever you feel any level of discomfort that what I told myself when I was going through this was, this is amazing. This is healing. This is like, I know that I'm healing and getting better because I feel this. How cool is that? And then, notably, it passes. And usually, without resistance, it passes way more quickly than we anticipate. That being said, if you're worried about anything, if you have any concerns, then speak to your medical provider, because removing alcohol is a big deal. And depending on where we are on the spectrum of use, it can be, and very few people are at the far end, very few people. But if you're at all worried, being under the supervision of your medical provider, being in communication with them about what you're doing and how they can best support you is really, really wise.
Love it. Okay. This one is cool. Do trust your decision and celebrate it as well. It's yeah, like it came from you. It came from who you are, giving you the kind of, like, I sort of often say to people on these amazing path groups that we're in, or maybe it's our programs as well, when people come and say, oh, I'm really in the middle of some feelings right now, and oh my goodness, I've got this coming up and that coming up, and I just don't know. I'm all over the place. And it's like, well, look, we don't make amazing decisions like taking a week away from alcohol or joining a program or whatever it might be if we haven't been in communion with, ourselves, with who we really are. And that voice is to be trusted. It's a beautiful thing. And to celebrate that as well. And in the moments when we can't quite feel connected, we don't quite feel connected to it, it doesn't mean it isn't there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just for a moment. It's kind of, the clouds are covering the sun, but the sun's still there. It does how it works. It doesn't go away. And you'll soon feel just fully aligned with it again if you just give it a minute and stop fighting to bring it back. It will come back. You don't have to fight to bring it back. It's right there.
Yeah. And that add on, that celebrate it. It's important that you recognize that what you're doing is highly valuable, and you're going to really spur yourself on, encourage yourself and motivate yourself by looking upon what you're doing really favorably. Because what we typically do is what we were talking about earlier, which is measure ourselves against where we'd like to be, seeing the gap and focusing on that. You get to choose where you place your attention. So placing your attention on, wow, look at this wonderful thing that I just did for myself, that in the last minute, in the last hour, in the last 24 hours, in the last week. Wow. And really celebrating the gift that you've given to yourself, because you've done that. Nobody else has done it. You've done it. And as I often say in the coaching circles that we work in, most people aren't doing this work. You look at the population of even your village or your town or your city or your state or your country, never mind continent and globe. Most people aren't doing this. Most people are sleepwalking through their lives. And you've made a decision. You've chosen not to be a sleepwalker. So just celebrating that very, very fact is really, really important.
Love it. Right, last one. This is it.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Don't worry about what's next. This is a massive one. Like, we future trip and scare the shit out of ourselves all the time. And we don't have to do that. Like, by definition, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff you're going to see and a whole bunch of insights you're going to have that you haven't had yet that are going to come along the way. And the way I always like to say it is that life will teach you, and the life will teach you quadrant, element, whatever. We just don't give enough to that. We think it's all going to be on us. It's all going to be on Sam and like my intellect. I'm going to have to figure this out, and kind of just forget that there's so much stuff in the post that's going to arrive exactly when you need it, not before, not after, right on time. That's how it works. Right on time. And yeah.
Was that in a Japanese accent?
No, not at all. That was just that wasn't really in any accent. It was in a strange voice, I'll give it that.
And you know it's ride on time. Not right on time.
Well, look, I'm going to be honest.
Sounds similar.
Combination of not being able to remember anything, not being able to hear the lyrics properly. Robin thought it was absolutely brilliant the other day. What was it? It was an Oasis song, and I was convinced that the lyric. I was just singing the lyrics, and she was like, "What did you just say?" And I was like, "Well, it's this, isn't it?" And she was like, "It absolutely isn't that. How long have you been singing that?" I was like, "Well, my whole life, since I was 11, and I had
Mr.
it on
Liam
CD.
and Mr. Noel will be very upset.
But yeah, I just I don't remember anything. So no, I didn't. So it's Ride on Time.
Yeah, sure.
Ride what?
Every day's a school day.
Right, what are we riding though? Horses.
Time. No time. You're riding on time.
On time. As in, oh, I see. As in, through the temporal dimension upon that thing that we invented to make life seem a bit easier. So we can talk about tomorrow and today and all that. Is that really what it is?
Yeah, got to look it up.
It's not, is it? It's Right on Time. You're definitely wrong. Is it from the 80s, that song?
I want to say it's early 90s.
Oh, you're probably right then, because I was.
Quiz it. Hang on.
Come on, find out. Who sang it? Who sang it anyway?
Oh God, I can't fucking remember anything either, can I?
Well, you can't have a go at me for not knowing the lyrics if you don't know who it was. Come on,
Black Box. Of course, it was Black Box, and it was, when was it? Right.
See,
I'm doing it.
You said it. Come on, get the lyrics.
1990, so I was bang on.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. It was released as a single in July 1989.
Come on, get the lyrics out. And yeah, I'll just keep telling everybody. So yeah, don't worry about what's next. Ride on Time. And
do you actually want the lyrics? Do you?
I want you to tell me if it's actually what you said it was.
It is. Yeah, of course, it's Ride on Time.
Well, that doesn't make any
sense. Gotta get up. Wow, that's it.
Yeah, great.
I won't take my love away.
We need a different mic for you. Is it then? Come on, you haven't said the.
Yeah, of course. That's the name of the song, Sam.
Oh. Right, okay. Well, Ride on Time, the universe has delivered us the message that we should stop making this podcast episode as well. Because
looking at you whilst I'm reading, you're a hot temptation.
It's been such an unprofessional start and finish to this show.
One of our finest, I'd say.
I blame you. Well, no, yes. Now I'm not saying that's bad, to be honest with you. I mean, if we were going to define our core values for Present and Sober, which we haven't done yet, we need to get together and do that. I have a feeling that neither of us would have said very professional. I imagine that's going to come out on our list of brainstorms. Oh, professional. Oh, yeah. Write that down.
Professional. What else wouldn't? Oh, I'm quite interested in doing the what we're not.
Perhaps we'll do it live. We'll record it and make it a podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Watch out, folks. That's a good one in the bag coming up. We've also got some exciting guests.
Yes, we do. And we always like to keep you on your toes with guests because, you know, we're trying to find people that are really out there doing it. You know, I don't know where I'm going with this. Not professionals, but just interesting peeps. And we've got some very, very cool people coming up. So we're excited to put them out there.
And some returning people from days of yonder.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Right then. Go on. Say something profound. Come on. Leave our listeners with something profound. That's pufferfish impression. Oh, you've got something. Go on.
The thing that came to mind was that sticky willy stuff from the garden. Do you used to play with that as a kid?
No, I'm not. Sorry, the sticky willy stuff from the garden.
Yeah.
No, what do we?
I'll send you some through the post.
Is that what it's called?
Sticky
That's not
willy.
those things that get all over you and stick all those that make you get itchy.
Not the bauble things.
No. What do you mean?
You lob it at somebody and it sticks.
Oh,
to
yeah.
them.
Yeah. We never called it that though. I don't know what we called it. Yeah, we used to do all sorts of funny stuff. living in the country.
Mm. There was an adder the other day. Bit a dog. Fortunately, not one of mine.
Is it all right?
I don't know. I haven't heard an update on the dog. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, me too. Was it a big dog?
I think it was a retriever.
Well, hopefully he's all right. Was she?
Yeah.
Okay, on that bombshell.
Pray for the dog.
Love you all.